Good evening, everybody, and thank you for attending the Town Board Work Session. Today is Thursday, February 13th, 2020, at 7 p.m. Tonight is a work session, and all Town Board members are present with the exception of Supervisor Schmidt, who's still home recovering from his surgery. He wishes, he wants to thank everybody for wishing him well, and he is recuperating well, and he'll be back as soon as he can get back here. Tonight we have Greg Fulchetti down here, and Frank, if you'll do the pledge, please.
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just ask for a moment of silence to remember those men and women who provide us with the freedoms that we go to sleep each and every night and wake up each morning. Thank you.
Thanks, Frank. So tonight, did everybody have a chance to review the town board minutes on February 5th? And does anybody have any questions?
No, ma'am,
No questions? Okay, perfect. So the first item on the agenda is Mike Arnazza, Building and Codes Enforcer, consider request to authorize return of interpretation fee for Leslie and Ernest Palmieri. Again, Mike Carnazza wrote a memorandum. Please be advised that the applicant for the interpretation of zoning code for the above-mentioned applicant was withdrawn. The applicant requested a return of $400 fee. There is a $100 fee for return of withdrawn an application in the fee schedule to cover the work done by the office staff. And Mike is requesting that the town board return the fee of $300, which is $400 less the $100 fee, to Leslie and Ernest Palmiero of Amawalk. Does anybody have any questions? The second item, Glenn Drosy, our town assessor, is here, and it's to consider request to authorize renewal of agreement for pictometry services.
Yes, hi, everybody. Is this on?
Yep.
Pictometry, also known as Eagle View, is aerial photography. This is a renewal of the contract that we had previously with the town. They last flew over the town back in 2015. This software and aerial photography has been a great tool for us and the other departments, engineering, building. What's on? Building department. And others. Law enforcement has used it also. The contract that I'm recommending is the multi-project, which is 2 flights over a 6-year period. That gives us a discount of over $9,800 if we were to do it a single contract with them twice. So that's why I'm recommending the multi-project, because of the discount. So in this proposal that they're giving us, they also include advanced training. I'm not recommending that portion of it. I don't think it would be necessary. I think for myself, at least, because that would be more for a town planner. If you'd like to send someone else, that's great. If you want to send me, I'm very willing to go. It is out of state, though. So I see.
Yeah,
Unlikely.
I already took it out of the thing.
Yeah, so that saves us $2,499 for each 3-year period.
Yep.
So
If you don't, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. If you don't mind, just explain to the public what this pictometry actually does and why we use it, and
Sure.
why it's used for
I
more
think
than just,
I think that's what he was going to do.
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he didn't
yeah,
finish.
I can.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. So, yeah, the software, we use it for reviewing aerial photos of properties. We can measure in those photos. We can measure acreage. We can measure decks. We can measure a lot of different things. It gives us, every time the town is flown, it gives us a certain point in time that we can look back to and see what was there. If there's a claim that we had something wrong, it's just been a great tool for measuring, and it saves us from actually getting in the car and having to drive out there. It's resolved many square footage issues with homeowners where they say their house is smaller than what we say, and we can measure it from the photography. And we have tested it many times, the accuracy of it, so
And you
we
said
have
it was
faith.
used by other departments as well, right?
Yes, it is, yes.
Quick question, when you say that the town is flown, what do you mean by that?
The town is actually flown by a small plane. It flies at 3,500 feet above the town in 1-mile sectors crisscrossing the town. And it takes pictures straight down and obliques, which are to the side. With those obliques, we can actually see the sides of structures instead of just straight down like you'd see in Bing Maps or Google Maps. So with those side views of the structures, it's just an additional tool for us to review properties.
Now, Glenn, I know you said that it flew over in 2015, and then the first project and second project are the additional 2 flights over a 6-year period. What years do you think those projects will fly in? Because I'd hate to have somebody fly because I don't see it in the contract, and I just don't
Yes.
want them to fly, over in, say, 2020 and then 2022, and then they're not doing it again for another 4 years.
They'll only fly once in each 3-year period, so I'm recommending that they fly this spring in 2020,
Yep.
and then at least 5 years later, so we keep it at 5-year intervals.
Okay. 2020.
The money's in your budget.
The money's in the budget. Cost per year works out without the advanced training to $9,917.33 each year over the 6 years.
Yeah, and Bob just mentioned that doing it in the spring of this year will actually hopefully work for our master plan as well.
Yeah, it's
It'll
useful
be
for
good
that
for that.
also, yes.
Yeah,
Good idea.
perfect. Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions?
Thanks, Glenn.
All right,
So,
thank you,
You're
Glenn.
welcome, yes, thank you.
So the third is Marianne Maxwell, and this is to consider request to attend the New York State GFOA Conference, April 1st to the 3rd. Marianne?
Okay, good evening. The 2020 New York State GFOA Annual Conference is scheduled for April 1st through Friday, April 3rd in Albany, New York. I'm requesting approval for myself and Michelle Tenafrancia to attend the conference. Some of the topics that of discussion are what's new in procurement at New York State OGS, the trouble with tax caps, automating time and attendance, debt refinancing do's and don'ts, state retirement system updates, consideration before applying for grants, and developing an internal audit function. The cost of the conference is $200 per member, plus the cost of hotels. It's also a great event for networking with various vendors and other the municipalities.
Marion,
So-
in the past, didn't the supervisor go with you as well?
He has
From time
gone,
to
yes,
time?
he has gone with
So when
us.
we do the resolution, we should make sure.
I did reach out to him to see if he, would want to attend
Right.
or would be able to
Okay.
attend, and he just said, you and Michelle go.
Okay.
So I did. I have, he has attended in the past.
Yes.
But, of course, I would love, he would love to go, but I think,
Yeah.
yeah, gonna be.
Perfect. Anybody have any questions?
Nope.
No.
Okay. And Marianne, if you would also handle number 4, which is to
Yes.
consider request to accept proposal for renewal of agreement Civic Plus.
Yeah, Civic Plus, DBA Virtual Town Hall Holdings LLC has maintained the town's website, webpage for several years. The annual agreement expired on February 1st of 2020. The first proposal, Attachment 1, included an annual rate of $4,568 with a 5% annual increase totaling $14,402.99 for 3 years. A second proposal was submitted for a 3-year period, locking in an annual rate of $4,462.50, totaling $13,387.50 for a 3-year period, and that would be a cost savings over those 3 years of $1,015.49. So Ann Pasquarella and myself respectfully request that the town board authorize a resolution accepting the 3-year proposal, the second attachment of Civic Plus for the town's website at an annual cost of $4,462.50. So that makes
Okay.
sense. It's a
Yeah,
lot.
That's the vendor that's doing it.
They are. They're the current vendor, yep. And it's good to lock in a rate,
Yeah.
you know.
And thank you to Ann and you for, working on saving
Absolutely.
us some money for the 3-year term.
Yep.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions?
No questions.
Okay. Thank you, Mary
Yep.
Ann. So number 5, 6, number 5 and 6 is Richard Franzetti. The first one is acknowledging payment of emergency repairs services. Rich?
Good evening. The first one is memorandums being presented to the town board to advise the Board of Emergency invoices submitted for payment in excess of $5,000 for services rendered. Provides a summary, following is a summary. Carmel Water District 8 saddle repairs, 15 and 20 Tanager Road. On December 8th, 2019, B&J, the operators for Carmel Water District 8, notified the engineering department that 2 saddles were leaking in the vicinity of 15 and 20 Tanager. There's an invoice in the amount of $6,276.76 for Cook Excavating to make this repair. It was paid. Carmel Water District 2, water leak on 2 East Collier. December 22nd, 2019, Infomark, the operators of Water 2 notified the engineering department of a leak at the referenced address, attached an invoice in the amount of $8,648.36 was paid to Cook Excavating to make the repair. Water leak on 2 North Road, January 10th, 2020, Infomark, the operators of Carmel Water District 2 notified the department of a leak at that referenced address. There's an invoice in the amount of $7,509.19 has been paid to Cook Excavating. Carmel Sewer District 2, Lindy Drive Lift Station, January 7th, 2020. Infomark, the operators of Carmel Sewer District 2 notified the engineering department of an unsafe condition relating to accessing the Lindy Drive Lift Station as the roadway had washed out. There's an invoice in the amount of $5,701.96 for Cook Excavating to make the repair. Town Hall Police Department lighting on January 6, 2020, Eleanor Electric was contacted by the town to repair lights in the police department parking lot. There's an invoice in the amount of $5,400 for Eleanor to make this repair. This is being put on the agenda to be a matter of record per the new procurement policy.
Yep. Perfect. Does anybody have any questions?
Hey, just the questions about the water leaks. Do you know what the cause was for those? For the emergency leaks, what caused the water breaks?
So in Water 8, there were saddle repairs. I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to go back to my records on that, but I believe the one on Collier was a lateral break in the pipe, and they had to repair it. I don't remember what North Road was,
Okay.
so I can find that out.
What causes the lateral break? Is it just failure of the parts? Are they aged out, or?
It's just maybe the beds they're lying on. It could be the type of pipe. It's just the way they're laying in that particular hole where they were put in, so.
Okay. And what's the average price to fix a water main break? Is there an average?
That all depends. So the answer to that question is it depends. I mean, you can see the prices here ranged from, $5,000 to $5,700 to $8,600, different areas. Depends on how hard the site is to reach, what the break is, how hard it is to get valves opened and closed. If they have to, the deeper they have to excavate, the more work it's going to entail. So the answer is it depends, but it averages in that ballpark.
Okay. Thank you.
What day of the week and time it happens.
That's true, thank you. Yeah, it depends if it's happening on the weekend, on a Sunday night, or on a holiday, or on a Tuesday afternoon, so.
The price is going to go up.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? Okay, Rich, number 6, Lake Cassie, Tea Kettle Upper and Lower Dam Rehabilitation. Consider request to bond work for the maintenance of the dams.
So as the board is aware, the town of Carmel is responsible for the Lake Cassie Upper Tea Kettle and Tea Kettle dams. These dams each received a New York State Department of Environmental Conservation required engineering assessment, proposals for the development of bid documents and specs to address the maintenance issues identified in the EA for each dam were solicited. The board chose Weston and Sampson to prepare those plans and specs as necessary to go out for bid and work. Bids for the reference project were let out on January 9th and received on February 3rd of 2020. The summary, as prepared by Weston and Sampson, was provided in the attached. Preliminary costs for the project were provided, and the cost for the low bidder is summarized as follows. It was Landscape Inc. doing business as Nicky Diggs Excavation. Lake Cassie, $183,450. Lower Tea Kettle Lake, $47,219.50. And Upper Tea Kettle Lake, $68,164, for a total bid price of $298,833.50. We spoke with this department spoke with the town of Carmel Comptroller, and there are not sufficient funds in the Lake District to fund balances to pay for this project. The work will need to be bonded. A map planning report based on the bid documents of submittals and public hearing would be required, as well as an authorizing borrowing resolution. Taxpayers of Lake Cassie and Tea Kettle Park districts respectively would have to pay the debt service cost once this project is complete. We request that the town board approve this work to be bonded.
How often does this have to be done, Rich?
So, it's never been done, to answer your question. So, the engineering assessment depends on the class dam you have. So there's Class A, which is the lower Tea Kettle Lake, Class B, which is Upper Tea Kettle Lake and Cassie, and Lake Mahopac is a Class C dam, as are the larger dams that New York City owns. EAs are due every 10 years, that's engineering assessments. There was never one done here on any of these. It was part of a requirement from New York State DEC to have them completed.
Not even 10 years, I'm sorry, not even 10 years ago?
Not even 10, well, the rules came out a handful of years ago, so, so no, not even, it's not that nobody ever did anything, it's
No,
just
no,
that
no,
it wasn't required per the state. And so, the EA that was performed identified, this is a multi-phase, unfortunately, this is gonna be a multi-phase project, this is phase one. Phase one here is just to remove the trees and shrubs off of the face of the dam, the upper and downstream embankments. Once they're cleared, another assessment will need to be done to see if there's any other repairs that need to be done. The EA identified certain things that needed to be looked at, but once it's clear, we'll be able to see if there's any seepage or any other type of repairs that need to be made to the dam, and we'd have to go out and take a look at that point in time. Design specs will have to be developed and put out to bid to make those additional repairs. But this is phase one. The New York State DEC is aware of it. It's being driven by their regulations and their requirements.
They send in a check?
Yeah, I think you know the answer to that question.
No,
So Rich, is this going to have to be done every 10 years now moving forward?
No, so what's going on here is if you've any, I recommend I could take you out for a tour of the dams if you haven't been there already. There are some fairly large trees within the embankments and shrubbery and all work that needs to be done. So no, it won't have to be done every 10 years. Once these trees and it's cleared and the embankments are cleared, it's going to be seeded and grassed, and then they can maintain it as a normal area to be maintained.
Okay.
have you made, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't, go ahead.
How did Weston and Sampson get the bid?
We put an RFP out for that. That was a while back that we've done that.
And who else bid on it?
One other company, White Engineering, they performed the EA.
And were they Weston and Sampson were the lowest bidders?
Weston and Sampson was the lowest bidder, yes. I'm sorry, what's that?
There's gonna be,
Borrowing.
that's what I was gonna ask. Have you spoken to Mary Ann with regard to a bond proposal and debt service?
So I'm going to provide Mary Ann numbers tomorrow. She's going to touch base with good friend, our bond counsel,
Good friend.
And the issue,
and there should be something for next week for the board to vote on if you want to move forward with that.
In order to authorize the borrowing, that property rights issue for the access has to be resolved. We
Right.
couldn't authorize the borrowing without having those rights in hand.
Okay.
So hopefully by next week I'll have that answer.
Okay.
Because obviously the access is something that drives the price going for the actual work, and then for future maintenance, which shouldn't be an issue, but it should be in hand before the borrowing is authorized.
So Rich, if
So if we're having an order calling a public hearing on it, you can conduct the public hearing, but couldn't authorize the borrowing until that was in hand. So the process can start.
Oh,
So, are we saying that if we have access to the property through the county property, this price can go lower?
No, it's bid that way.
It's
that
bid already
way,
with
the assumption.
Assuming that.
Assuming
Yep,
that, okay.
because the county had offered the property
Gotcha.
already.
Okay,
Okay, it has to, but in terms of borrowing, finalizing the borrowing.
Right.
You should have the vested property rights, whatever they are. If
No,
it's a
no,
Fee
I
interest,
agree.
if it's an
Right,
easement,
right.
that's which way it should be starting.
Okay.
Go ahead.
That's okay. So I can contact Douglas and have him send the resolution or, the order calling a public hearing?
100%.
Okay, so that can be passed next week.
Yep.
I'll need the dollar amount from Rich, which is also in that, the order
Well,
calling a public
Is it
hearing.
going to be next week? Because next week's obviously a voting meeting. Greg's got to clear up the issue of the parcels. So if that's not cleared up, then I don't know how we will vote on it next week.
That process, there's generally an order calling a public hearing. Then the public hearing is set out at a
No, no, I
future date.
understand.
Yeah.
And if the public hearing is closed, then you adopt what's known as a public interest order. You can then authorize the borrowing then. It's that point that you have to have it. So the
Right.
process
Okay.
can begin as long as you don't take the action on it.
All right.
Right,
Okay.
before we take it over.
Right, so just calling, so basically next week is just calling the public hearing, right? I
100%.
mean, that's.
Okay.
And it'll
So-
be, whatever, 3 weeks
Yeah,
or
we were
whatever it takes
talking
to-
about if you did vote on it next week, it could be March 4th.
Okay.
That's what we were looking at, so that's a possibility.
All right.
I'll
I don't
talk
anticipate a long
to Ann
window
Spofford
for
about
what
that.
we
but-
need.
Right.
I just don't think by next week. But you can start the process.
Right. Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions? No? Okay. Thank you, Rich.
Thank you.
Yep. So we have Michael Simone here, Highway Superintendent, consider request to authorize advertise for bids for 2020 miscellaneous spring supplies and materials.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
As usually do this time of year, anticipating our spring coming soon, and we need to get out to bids on all the work we are anticipating doing this spring, and these are materials that we will need to do them with, so we do this
Yes.
every year.
I was gonna
It's
say
an
we do it
annual
every
thing.
year.
Yep.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Mike, you also have the next one to discuss the crane service costs for the diesel system upgrade.
Right. As you remember, last year, the board authorized me to get a new tank here and a movement of the 4,000-gallon tank that I had at this place and put it into service up in the Carmel yard. Outside of the scope of the contract, there was a crane that was not included. It falls within the budgetary number we have, but I do have to get authorization to pay for this crane. So what we happened is, they had to bring a crane here to unload the 6,000-gallon tank that was here. They loaded the 4,000-gallon tank onto our trailer. They took the crane up to Carmel and unloaded it and placed the unit up on our Carmel pad up there. So that's the cost of the crane itself.
Okay.
So I'm looking to get that authorized to pay them. And the work was done this summer, so.
The work was done already?
Yeah, it's all completed, yeah.
Okay. Work done.
How big was that crane, Mike?
I don't know, pretty good size. I mean, it was,
We had it for more than a day?
no, we had it a full day.
Mike, was it done in January? January 24th?
No, this is when they submitted the bill.
Can they put on the bill when they actually did it, though? Mary Ann, you're probably going to need that, right? For the bill, yeah. On the bill, just put when they actually did it,
Okay. We can do that,
okay?
yeah.
Put on date of service, really, date of
Yep.
service. And, okay. Probably, any questions, anybody?
Nope.
No? Okay. And Mike, you have one more, acknowledging emergency purchase.
Truck 49, transfer case went, 2006 4x4, and we had to put a transfer case in it to get it back on the road in case of snow, that we have not really had a lot of, but we did do this, and we put the transfer case in and looking for payment on this.
Mike, what, because I see a bill here for 11,100, but what's the core? Because it has the merchandise is the 8,100, but then it has core for 3,000, so it has the quote at 11,100.
Right, and that will get us one back. So what they'll do is they'll take and they'll rebuild the one that we take out, they will take and they will rebuild that, and I will get it back.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect. Any questions?
No questions.
Oh, good, thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
All right. And Greg is going to handle the next one, consider resolution requesting amendments to New York State's criminal justice reform. Thank you.
In January of this year, the state legislature enacted certain reforms and revisions to the criminal procedure law largely that dealt with the discovery obligations of the district attorney's offices throughout the state and the imposition of bail, or what we call pretrial detention, for certain offenses that are alleged. It's caused, speaking as the town attorney only, it's caused a lot of backlash from prosecutors' offices and certain community groups that have concerns over the bail reform, and obviously it puts a burden on the prosecutors based on the short time window that they have to disclose, to provide discovery, and to provide that to defense counsel, and on the courts to some extent with respect to the time frame within which certain offenses must be arraigned. So what's happened is there's been a movement to ask the legislature to reconsider and amend the criminal justice reform. And that's basically what the model resolution that this town and several other towns have been presented with, to send to the legislature to deal with perhaps rethinking some of the details of the bail reform and the discovery reform. And that's the model resolution you have. And if you're inclined to do that, it would be sent to the legislature and to the governor for them to consider in their next session those types of reforms.
You know, if you read the paper the last couple of days, the Speaker of the Assembly said that this issue was fake news, and it's affecting the city right now more than anywhere else because crime is going to be rampant down there. But if you speak to the police chief, like some of us have, it's already affected us here. There's been repeat criminals who are shoplifting, who are doing all kinds of things, and I understand the purpose of what they wanted to do, but they went way, way astray with protecting the public, protecting law-abiding citizens. So if there's something that we can do and move forward with this resolution next week, I know that at least the DA's office and some other public offices are in favor of it as well. So at a minimum, that's something that we should do.
One of the things that's happened as a result is that the district attorney has taken certain offenses that they used to prosecute and asked the town to have their local prosecutor do that because of the burdens that have been placed upon the district attorney by the discovery reform, by their obligation to turn over this material within an expedited time frame. And this board's had the opportunity to consider having your local prosecutor handle misdemeanor offenses of certain classes, aggravated unlicensed operation, and the like. And that's something that's resulted from this, and it's not only in Putnam. It's in a couple other counties that I'm aware of, but that's part of it. It's certainly your prerogative to, as a legislative body, to send a resolution of support for the reconsideration and the amendment of the reform. And if you want to do that, you can consider it next week.
Thank you, Greg. And just to say a little bit about that, what you were just saying, it's trickling down now to the town level, and it's going to cost the town more money because instead of the county DA's office or people handling it, it's going to come down to the towns now. So our budgets are going to be increased by that much amount. And I think, unfortunately, it's only the tip of the iceberg. I think they're going to start with those, and then they're just going to keep on adding more stuff to the town, not just this town, but to all towns. So we really need to take a close look at this, and I'm definitely in favor of sending out this resolution. Anybody else have any other questions or comments? Okay. The next one, Frank, if you'd please handle, it's Justice Court. Consider request to authorize resolution noting Justice Court and docket for calendar year 2019 records.
So each year, the Office of Court Administration is requesting a copy of our Justice Court's audit pursuant to Section 2019A of the Uniform Justice Court Act. This audit was done for last year, and it was presented for examination to OCA January 27, 2020, so they just want a copy of it from us to make sure that we are dotting our i's and crossing our t's, or at least the Justice Court is. So we'll move forward and get that sent out.
Perfect. Anybody have any questions, comments? No, okay. And the last item on the agenda, number 12, Jimmy Gilchrist, is the Director of Recreation and Parks. Consider request to authorize purchase of skate park equipment to replace the old and obsolete skate park equipment. Jimmy?
Sure, this is a project we worked on with the Recreation Committee last year. We developed a master plan for the skate park, and we're trying to phase in equipment over years. So as the equipment is used and worn, we'll bring in new equipment and replace the pieces that are getting worn. It's a very active park. We typically budget about $5,000 a year for the skate park, which is about one piece of equipment. Last year, we phased out the pyramid that was up there. We purchased, and it was installed, I think, over Thanksgiving Day weekend. So that was put in, so that's a huge improvement. And then if you look on the back of the packet, you'll see the three pieces of equipment that we'll be replacing. Those came from the city of White Plains when they closed their skate park. They donated, that was a number of years ago. So they've had their day. It doesn't make sense to put any more work into those. So
Yeah.
what we do is we would remove those three and build one unit, which would give the kids more space up there. It'll be a safer space there, and we'll be able to get more equipment next year as we consolidate it. So we have three prices. The lowest one from Rampage, we've bought equipment from them over the years. Good company, and they're local, they're up in Connecticut. We've also bought from American Ramp. They're the company that actually did our master plan. That's the highest price that we have, but theirs includes, if you look at the installation, it's very expensive, because they're actually bringing somebody out from, I think from California here to put it together. So we're able to save a little bit of money by having a local, say Connecticut company, supply us with the equipment. We have $10,000 budgeted in this year's budget. This project would cost $8,180. So we're able to fund that in this year's budget.
So Jimmy, I thought we were getting brand-new equipment,
It is brand-new equipment.
but here it says that they're gonna remove the existing ramps that need repair and combine them into a new ramp,
No, we're going to remove those three pieces of equipment, the town is,
right?
and then those three skating elements are going to go into one unit. So you're going to have the three elements, the three different ramps, will be built into one. So if you look at the estimate from Rampage,
Right,
it has, if you look, it has three elements there, 5 foot tall, 6 foot tall, and 6 foot tall. There are three pieces of equipment that are put into one.
right, but are they taking that from this?
No, we're going to remove all that, the equipment before it's installed. The pieces that are, if you look at the last page, those three ramps, we're going to remove, they're going to be thrown in the garbage. They'll be
Those are
taken,
the current ramps that you have now on the last page. right?
Yes.
So the previous three ramps and their sizes are going to be combined into one new one.
and that's the drawing of the new ramps here. If you look at the drawing of the new ramps, Suzie?
Right,
The
I
second page.
saw that.
Yeah, so you have those are the three individual ramps that are on the last page. We put them into one unit.
Okay. All right, I understand. I thought that we were taking this, I was like, whoa.
No,
I was
that'll
like,
all be.
whoa, you know,
Yeah.
okay,
And then we still have one or two pieces left from the donation that we got from the City of White Plains, and we're going to put new skate light material on that. That's like the plywood type material that's used.
Yep.
Those are worn out, and we'll replace those when we're doing this project also.
okay, perfect. Does
Jim,
anybody?
We just
go
want
ahead.
to
Yep.
thank the Kenora family for all their continued
Yep. They've
looking
been,
after that park from day one.
Yep.
Several of us were involved in, when they had their fundraiser, when they, dealt with it, I'm sure, right, Mike?
yeah, Danielle, Joey's sister, still meets, and she leads up the skate park committee.
Yeah. Who's taking the old stuff down? They taking it down when they put the new stuff
We're
up?
going to be taking it down, and then we'll give it to Mike
You
Simone.
yourself?
What's that?
Mike, oh, okay.
No, we disassemble it,
Is
and
it,
then we'll bring it up to recycling.
okay.
Town employees or volunteers?
Town employees. And then the new piece will be installed by the company that we're buying it from.
Does it come with a warranty, any type, or craftsmanship?
No, I mean, this kind of equipment, it'll last based on wear and tear. If you keep up on it, if you put new skate light material on it every, say, 3 to 4 years, you'll be fine. But it's wooden equipment. So, at some point, it's going to break down. A lot of skate parks went to the concrete, so they do the forms almost like an in-ground type pool. That's what they're really doing out in the West Coast.
Jim, you have an idea when this is going to take place?
We're ready to go. I was hoping to have this on 2 weeks ago, but I didn't have a third price.
Okay.
So as soon as we get this ordered, we should have it in, I would say, probably beginning of April. The park is closed right now,
Right,
so we'll have this in before the park is open.
okay.
That's our plan.
Thanks, Jim.
All right,
You
good.
got it.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? No? All right, so that concludes our work session agenda for tonight. So if anybody's in the public, if they have any comments on the agenda items only, they're free to come up. 3 minutes, going once, twice, three, nope. Okay, does any town board members have any comments on the agenda items only? Nope. All right, so now the open forum part of the meeting, public comments on new town-related business, 3 minutes. You must be a town resident, property owner, or business owner. Anybody? Yep, Tom?
Good evening. I'm following up on my request from a few weeks ago and the emails that have been sent to the board about upcoming insurance renewal. I'm here out of concern that the window of opportunity for the town is closing. We have less than 7 weeks before your renewal. And last year, through my and my colleagues' efforts, we put $80,000 back into the town budget. There's more on the table, but more importantly, there are improvements that we showed in our proposal last year that vastly improves those policies. So you all know me. I'm trustworthy, hardworking. I like to do good things for the town. So I would just ask if you would allow my colleague and I to proceed.
Yeah,
Tom,
Tom,
I
go
thought
ahead,
we
Mike.
resolved this. You're telling me you haven't gotten anything from the town yet for you to put a bid package
I
together?
did get an email from Suzanne. She said she was waiting for Mary Ann to return.
right, and, yeah, she just got back today. I spoke with her, and she's going to be contacting, is it RJ? RJ tomorrow to set up a meeting. Yeah,
Okay.
I emailed that to you.
Yeah, because we want
Yeah.
to jump into this pool
But-
right away.
But Tom, I heard from nobody else.
All right.
Because you asked, all the town board members got it? I haven't heard. So Mary Ann is going to set up a meeting with RJ.
All right, so you'll
Yeah.
be calling tomorrow.
Yeah, we spoke about that today when she
So
got
he has
back.
enough time, Mary Ann? He'll have enough time after he meets you to prepare a bid?
We have about 98, 99% of the information from last year. However, it needs to be updated because things change.
Yeah, no,
And we
you're
will, of
saying-
course, need loss
You're
histories.
insane not to,
Yeah.
I mean, you saved the taxpayers $400,000.
I want to do more.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah, and moving forward, for any town board members, including myself, when emails go out with any type of information requesting it, just try not to be silent. Just say, yes, I'm in favor, no, I need more information, so we can move forward. Because it did stay stale for a little while, I'm not going to lie to you, with no response. So,
It's just that my concern also is that no insurance carrier before last year has ever seen the town's policies submitted.
I mean, the fact that you're even up here just asking for it again blows my mind. I can't believe you don't have everything you need to put a bid in.
There's more to be had.
yep, so Mary Ann is going to contact RJ tomorrow, set up a meeting date, and we'll move forward with that. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry you had to come back.
I don't think there's anybody else here. Does any town board member comments? Open forum. Nope. Next Monday, the town is closed here for President's Day. And we do have executive session to go over pending litigation, and contractual services. So I need a motion to go in, right, Greg? I need a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Okay, second? Okay, all in favor? All right. We'll close the meeting out there? Perfect. All right, thank you, everyone. Have a safe weekend.